Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating exploration lined up today, especially for you, the learner.
Yeah, we're diving into something that's cropping up everywhere. Artificial intelligence and its impact on the arts.
Exactly. You've been curious, we know, so we've pulled together the key insights to get you up to speed. We want to make this clear and, honestly, pretty engaging.
Forget feeling overwhelmed by tech talk. Our mission here is really to unpack how AI is shifting, from just being a tool.
To more like a creative partner.
Precisely. Across all sorts of art forms, we'll be looking at its history, the tech behind it, how artists are actually using it.
And of course, the big ethical questions that come up, plus what it all means for artists themselves and maybe where this is all headed.
Get ready for some hopefully surprising facts and a clear picture of this whole intersection.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So to start, we probably need to define the landscape a bit. This idea of generative art is pretty central.
Right. What exactly does that entail?
Well, think of it as art, where a system, something not human, plays a big part in creating the final piece. It's sort of like post-conceptual art, using autonomous systems.
Okay, but is that a new idea?
Not entirely. Even back in the late 60s, artists were playing with things like geometric abstraction, using systematic repetition and variation. You could argue that's an early form. And then there was a conference in Milan in '98, specifically called Generative Art, that really helped cement this idea of art coming from dynamic systems.
So the core concept art, made with non-human systems, has been around a while.
Definitely longer than many people think. It sets the stage for understanding AI art.
Got it. So generative art is the big umbrella. Where does AI art fit specifically?
AI art is really a subset of that. It specifically uses what we call generative AI.
Which is the kind that learns from data.
Exactly. It analyzes huge amounts of data, learns patterns, and then generates completely new stuff based on those patterns, like, think Adobe Firefly or Midjourney.
And the artist is still involved.
Oh, absolutely. Usually a human artist provides the initial spark, often a text prompt, describing what they want.
But how involved are they? Does it vary?
Hugely. Sometimes the artist sees the AI's output as the direct expression of their idea. Other times the AI is more like an assistant or even a collaborator.
Interesting. So the key takeaway is AI art uses machine learning on data prompted by humans, but the level of human control isn't fixed.
Precisely. It's a spectrum.
Now, I've also heard the term algorithmic art thrown around. Is that the same thing or different again?
Good question. It's different, though it's also a type of generative art.
Okay, how so?
With algorithmic art, the artist designs the rules themselves. They create predefined algorithms, maybe write code or use mathematical formulas.
So the artist is the architect of the system.
Exactly. Think of Michael Hansmeyer's amazing architectural columns. Those are generated by complex algorithms he designed. Or Manolo Gamboa Neon, using code like processing to make visual patterns based on rules he programs.
Right, so the artist is directly coding the outcome, setting the instructions.
That's the core difference.
Yeah.
The artist defines the process, the rules, maybe the degree of randomness allowed.
Whereas with AI art, it's more about training a model on data and letting it figure out the patterns.
You've got it. The AI model learns from the data, and the output comes largely from the neural network's interpretation of that learning, often in ways the artist couldn't have predicted or explicitly coded.
So artist design rules versus data-learned patterns. That's the key distinction.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so diving deeper into AI art then, what are the main technologies making this possible? What's under the hood?
There are a few key players. GANs, or generative adversarial networks, are a big one.
How do they work?
Basically, you have two AIs competing. One generates images, the other tries to tell if they're real or AI made. This kind of forces the generator to get better and better.
Like a constant feedback loop, leading to realistic images.
Exactly. Hyper-realistic portraits, that sort of thing. Then there are VAEs, variational autoencoders. They also use a decoder setup to generate new variable content, often photorealistic too.
Okay, so GANs and VAEs for realism. What else?
Diffusion models are huge right now. They're trained on massive image data sets, and they form the foundation for many of the popular tools you see, like Stable Diffusion or DALL-E.
The ones that generate images from text prompts.
Yeah, they're incredibly versatile for that. And then for text itself, you have LLMs, large language models, trained on vast amounts of text to create poetry, scripts, you name it.
And concepts like image synthesis.
Right, simply the process of creating new images from existing data. And we shouldn't forget creative coding, where artists actually write code as their primary artistic medium.
It sounds like a complex ecosystem of technologies.
It really is, and it all builds on this history we touched on earlier.
Right, you mentioned generative art ideas predate computers.
Absolutely. Artists used chemistry, biology, even chance processes, but computers in the 60s were a game changer.
Who are the early pioneers with computers?
Well, Georg Nies and Friedrich in Germany exhibited computer graphics as early as 1965. Vera Molnar, a Hungarian programmer, started using plotters for art around then too, and she's still working today.
Wow.
And the Cybernetic Serendipity exhibition in London in '68 was a landmark event, showcasing this tech-art connection.
And specific AI art examples from back then.
Harold Cohen's Aaron program from the 1970s is often cited. It could autonomously create drawings and paintings. Pretty remarkable for its time.
So this current boom,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It stands on the shoulders of decades of exploration.
Exactly. A much longer and richer history than you might think.
Okay, let's shift to the present day. How is AI actually being used as a tool across different art forms? Let's start with visual arts.
In visual arts, it's really becoming a versatile assistant. It can analyze tons of visual data to spark ideas, maybe find connections an artist wouldn't see.
So for inspiration.
For inspiration, definitely. And the AI-generated images themselves can be starting points, abstract patterns, weird morphed visuals, unique compositions.
What about existing techniques, like style transfer?
Oh, yeah, that's huge. Applying the style of, say, Van Gogh to your photo, it opens up so many experimental avenues.
Is it just for digital art?
Not at all. It can augment traditional forms too, helping with digital design skills that feed into physical work, assisting with composition, suggesting color palettes, even generating textures.
So it helps overcome creative blocks, provides custom references, helps iterate.
All of that. It's becoming embedded in the whole process, from the first spark to the final touches.
Fascinating. Okay, what about music? How's AI changing things there?
Music is seeing a massive shift too. AI can help build melodies, suggest chord progressions, even write whole songs or compose original pieces by analyzing existing music databases.
Composing original work, really?
Yeah, by learning musical structures and styles, it can generate things that sound completely new but are based on learned patterns.
And beyond composition, production.
Definitely. Assisting with arranging parts, orchestration, even technical stuff like mixing and mastering.
So it can help musicians who get stuck.
For sure. Suggesting new ideas when you hit a wall. We're even seeing text-to-music tools emerge, letting you describe a sound and have the AI try to create it. It's really broadening the toolkit.
From idea to finished track, AI seems to be getting involved. And writing. How about literature and text?
It's surprisingly useful for writers, too. Generating prompts to get started, brainstorming sentences or paragraphs, exploring plot structures, dialogue options.
Helping flesh out ideas.
Exactly, suggesting new angles, helping overcome writer's block. It can kind of push you into new creative territory.
Is it just creative or practical, too?
Both. It can help with research, outlining, even editing and proofreading. Some writers use it for admin tasks, too, like SEO for articles.
Even academic writing?
Yep. Assisting with literature reviews, summarizing papers, managing citations, tasks that are necessary but can be time-consuming.
So across the board, visual, music, writing, AI is becoming this multifaceted assistant.
It really is.
Yeah.
Which leads us to think about the relationship between the artist and the AI.
Right, you mentioned this symbiotic relationship. What does that look like in practice? Is it really collaboration?
I think Symbiotic captures it well. It's less about just using a tool for automation and more about working with it.
How so?
The artist sets the direction, maybe guides the AI with prompts or parameters, and then acts like a curator. They select, refine, tweak the AI's output.
So the artist brings their specific vision, their style, emotion.
Exactly. They infuse the AI's output with their unique intent and narrative. It lets the artist focus maybe more on the big picture, the concept, the aesthetics.
And the AI handles some of the heavy lifting, the generation part.
Kind of. And
Yeah.
we're even seeing roles like prompt engineer emerge, people who get really good at writing the text prompts to get specific results from the AI.
It's definitely a changing dynamic. Are there artists really embracing this collaborative model?
Oh, tons. In visual arts, people are using Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, Billy 2 constantly to explore new aesthetics.
And music.
Platforms like MuseNet or AIVA are being used. Think of Holly Herndon, who collaborated with an AI called Spawn, or Brian Eno's generative music apps. Terrence Southern even made a whole album using AI.
And specific artists known for this kind of work.
Definitely. Sogwon Chung explores human-machine creativity with robots and code. Refik Anadol creates these incredible immersive installations driven by data. Mario Klingman is a real pioneer in generative and AI art.
It seems like this collaboration is redefining the artist's role. Less soul, creator more guide, curator refiner.
Exactly, and that has a potentially huge knock-on effect. Democratization.
How do you mean? Making art more accessible?
Potentially, yes. By lowering some of the technical barriers, someone might have a strong creative vision but lack traditional drawing skills or music theory knowledge.
And AI could help them realize that vision.
That's the idea. It could empower people with physical limitations or those without access to traditional materials or training. Imagine someone composing music without knowing notation or creating visuals without being able to hold a brush.
That could really broaden the range of voices and perspectives we see in the art world.
It really could. It opens up new avenues for self-expression for a much wider group of people.
That's genuinely exciting. But it can't all be smooth sailing, Shay.
This must raise some tricky questions.
Oh, absolutely. We're heading straight into the ethical maze now. And it's complex.
Where do we start? Copyright seems like a big one.
Huge. The U.S. Copyright Office, for instance, has generally said purely AI-generated work can't be copyrighted because it lacks human authorship.
So who owns it? The person who wrote the prompt? The AI developer? The AI itself?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's messy. Plus, there's the issue of the training data. A lot of these models were trained on images scraped from the web, potentially including copyrighted work without permission.
Leading to lawsuits, I imagine?
Yep, there are ongoing lawsuits about that right now. The Copyright Office has said works with sufficient human authorship can be copyrighted, even if AI was used.
But what counts as sufficient? That's the gray area. How much here input, selection, arrangement, or modification is needed? It's still being figured out.
Okay, copyright is thorny. What about originality and authenticity? Can AI really be original?
That's a massive debate. Critics argue AI just mimics patterns from its training data, lacking true human emotion or conceptual depth. They might see it as sophisticated plagiarism.
But proponents would disagree.
Proponents argue AI can synthesize things in genuinely novel ways, creating unexpected and innovative results. But the role of human intention, emotion, lived experience, that's central to how we often define art. Can an algorithm replicate that?
A philosophical question almost as much as a technical one. And then there's bias, right?
A major concern. AI models learn from data, and if that data reflects societal biases, the AI will perpetuate them.
How does that manifest in art?
You might see skewed or stereotypical depictions, especially of marginalized groups. If the training data was biased, it might underrepresent certain groups or styles.
So diverse and unbiased training data is crucial.
Absolutely, and human oversight to catch and correct harmful biases in the output. It's a constant challenge.
In privacy, is that an issue too?
It can be. These tools process enormous data sets, which might inadvertently include personal information. There are also concerns about generating images that look like real people without their consent.
So things like GDPR and CCPA are relevant here.
Yes, transparency about data use, adhering to regulations, and building privacy protections into the AI systems from the start are all really important.
Wow, okay. Copyright, originality, bias, privacy, anything else in this ethical maze?
The environmental impact is another growing concern.
How so? AI uses energy.
A lot of energy, especially for training these huge models. That means significant electricity consumption and carbon emissions, plus the water needed for cooling data centers and the environmental cost of manufacturing the hardware.
Is there a counter-argument that maybe it's more eco-friendly than traditional art?
Some argue that digital creation reduces the need for physical materials, paints, canvases, shipping, etc. One study suggested AI might have a lower carbon footprint for tasks like writing or illustration compared to traditional methods.
But we need a full picture.
Yeah, if a full life cycle assessment is really needed to compare accurately, it's complex.
One last ethical point from the outline. Moral rights. What are those?
Moral rights are about protecting an artist's connection to their work even after they sell it. Things like the right to be credited, attribution, and the right to object to distortion or modification of the work integrity.
How does AI affect that?
Well, if an AI is trained extensively on one artist's style, should that artist be credited when the AI produces similar work? What if the AI generates something offensive in that artist's style?
That seems problematic. Are moral rights strong everywhere?
They're generally stronger in Europe than in the US. There's a discussion about whether these rights should apply to AI or the creators using AI or the developers. It's another unresolved area.
Okay, that's a lot to navigate ethically. Let's turn to the artists themselves. How is all this actually impacting them? Is it threatening jobs?
That's definitely a major concern for many artists, especially in fields like commercial art and illustration. The speed and potentially lower cost of AI generation could lead to displacement.
Automating tasks that humans used to do.
Exactly. There's apprehension that companies might see AI art as a way to cut costs, leading to fewer opportunities or lower pay for human artists.
But are there new opportunities emerging as well?
Yes, that's the other side of the coin. AI can speed up tedious parts of the creative process, like creating custom brushes or exploring compositional ideas quickly. It can help overcome creative block.
So using AI as an assistant, not a replacement.
For some, yes. And new roles are emerging too, creating personalized AI artwork for clients, consulting on AI art projects, using AI to create unique assets for the NFT market, or generating stock content efficiently. Artists who learn to integrate AI might find new niches.
What about the economics? Is it driving down prices?
There are worries about that. If AI can generate vast amounts of imagery or music very cheaply, it could potentially undercut the market value of human-created work. In music, there are concerns about AI-generated tracks affecting royalty pools.
Are there studies on this?
Some studies project potential income losses for creators in certain sectors due to AI automation. It's a real economic concern being debated.
So what's the general feeling among artists? Is it fear, excitement, something else?
It's really diverse. You hear a lot of apprehension worries about livelihoods, about the ethics of training data, about the potential devaluation of human creativity.
Understandable concerns.
Absolutely. But you also hear artists who are genuinely excited, embracing AI as a powerful new tool for enhancement, exploration, and finding new creative avenues.
A mix of caution and optimism.
I'd say so. With strong calls for responsible and ethical development, particularly around attribution and compensation when AI uses artists' work or styles.
Okay, looking ahead then, what does the future hold for this relationship between AI and the arts? What trends are emerging?
Well, it seems likely AI will become even more integrated into creative workflows, moving beyond just being a novelty tool.
More sophisticated AI.
Probably. Models that produce higher quality, more nuanced output, maybe with better control for the artist. We might also see entirely new art forms emerge.
Like what?
Maybe AI-driven interactive installations that respond to audiences in real-time, dynamic digital sculptures that constantly evolve, or even collaborative performances between humans and AI systems.
And the business side of art.
AI could play a bigger role there too. Market analysis, predicting trends, automating gallery operations, assisting with art curation and preservation. We might even see more AI artists develop distinct, recognizable styles generated through specific models or techniques.
So more integration, more sophistication, possibly new forms. What about the challenges we discussed? How do we address those going forward?
That's crucial. There's a real need to establish clear, ethical guidelines tackling bias, ensuring transparency about how AI is used, defining accountability when things go wrong.
And the legal framework,
Right.
like copyright.
Exactly. Laws need to adapt to this new reality. How do we handle ownership? How do we deal with training data issues? Collaboration will be key. Artists, technologists, policymakers, legal experts all need to be part of the conversation.
Fostering responsible adoption seems like the goal.
Yes, ensuring AI benefits the arts and artists rather than just disrupting them negatively.
So contemplating the long term, is it human creativity versus artificial intelligence or something else?
The consensus seems to be leaning towards collaboration and augmentation, not outright replacement, at least for the foreseeable future.
Why is that? What do humans bring that AI perhaps can't?
Things like genuine emotion, lived experience, nuanced intention, cultural understanding. These uniquely human elements seem hard, maybe impossible, for current AI to replicate authentically. They're often seen as central to what makes art resonate deeply.
So AI might become a powerful amplifier for human creativity.
That seems likely. Unlocking new forms of expression, helping us explore ideas in ways we couldn't before, perhaps even broadening our very definition of what art can be.
So wrapping this up, what does this all really mean? We've journeyed from the early days of computer art right up to today's advanced AI.
And hopefully you, the learner, now have a solid grasp of generative AI art, how it differs from algorithmic art, the key techniques, and that important historical context.
We've seen how AI is being woven into visual arts, music, writing, not just as a tool, but often as a collaborator.
And that potential for democratization, opening up creative avenues for more people, is really quite exciting.
But it's definitely not simple. Navigating the ethics, copyright, originality, bias, privacy, the environment, moral rights, that's clearly a huge ongoing task.
And the very real impact on artists' livelihoods, the mix of fear and excitement in the community, shows just how complex this integration is.
Looking forward, it seems the story of AI in the arts is one of continued evolution, likely marked by deeper collaboration and maybe even entirely new ways of creating.
The key takeaway for you, really, is that this is an incredibly dynamic field. Staying informed, staying engaged is going to be crucial as it unfolds.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. As this relationship between human creativity and artificial intelligence continues to evolve, how might it reshape your own understanding and appreciation of art in the years to come?
That's definitely something to mull over as you continue your learning journey.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today. We hope it's given you valuable insights and maybe sparked even more curiosity.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.